Hey everybody, we're doing another one-off rebuild here today. It's our first one for a while. We've taken the challenge of Stuttgart in the Bundesliga, barely survived last season, had to rely on the playoff against Hamburg, the relegation playoff, to stay in the division. They've got a lot of exciting young players, some of them we'll already be well familiar with. Can we reverse their fortunes and bring them back to the top of German football? Yeah, everybody, welcome to the channel. So, as you can see, Stuttgart have won five Bundesligas. They're one of four teams, other than Bayern, to have won the Bundesliga in the last sort of like 20 years, alongside Dortmund, Bremen, and Wolfsburg. They've won three DFB Pokals, no European honours. That is something that we will certainly look to try and achieve while we're here. We're going to be here for 5 years, and we are going to do the typical, where are we? We're going to make ourselves unsackable because otherwise it's a bit harsh because obviously we're not necessarily in control of the matches. We just set a tactic and sign some players. So decent capacity stadiums, 60,000, decent facilities. We'll be certainly looking to improve them. Reasonable finances. Now, transfer wise, so as I'm sure some of you know, they just lost one of their main players from the last couple of seasons in Endo Wataru, or Wataru Endo, Japanese defensive midfielder. He's gone to Liverpool. So we have looked to plug that gap, and we have brought in Umar Saleh or Solet from RB Salzburg out in Austria. We are running at the moment with a gegenpress tactic. It's something that I don't always necessarily use that often anymore because it seems a bit overpowered a lot of times. It seems like you can just put gegenpress in and it still works, even though it's supposedly been nerfed over the years. Well, over the last couple of seasons, I still feel like it seems quite OP at times. So we have made some, but we've gone with this because basically the assistant actually suggested it would suit the squad alongside a tiki taka and a custom, a control possession tactic, which we have got the players still working on anyway. And again, this was the tactical shape that the formation that the assistant recommended would suit the squad. So the only signing we've made is Umar Saleh. Basically, just someone we needed. He can play in defence, but we wanted someone who could play as a ball-winning midfielder as well, because our only other real option was this guy, Atakan Karatsor, who is okay, but I feel like Solé is a better prospect. He's a little bit younger, higher resale value, I feel like. We signed him for a total of 10 million, which was including add-ons, and as you can see, he's already worth 12 to 15. Other players to note, Silas Katompa Mvupa has been here for quite a while now. He is someone who has been consistently delivering for Stuttgart. From what I understand, if we just look at his recent match stats, obviously he had injury problems last year by the looks of things, about 11 goals the season before, 7 before that. Before that, he was out in Paris FC. So we'll certainly be looking to see if he can push on. They've got a few players in on loan, including Dennis Undav from Brighton, Jamie Llewellyn in from Union Berlin, and Leonidas Sturgey from St. Gallen. Good centre half. He's been kicking around for a couple of FMs now. We will probably look to try and sign him. Alexander Nubel is in on loan. I wouldn't have thought he's a good keeper. I wouldn't have thought I'd try and sign him. I imagine his wages are going to be too high for us. But basically, he's just going to be here plugging a gap while Dennis Simon develops. We're hoping to loan him out, see if we can get him some games, build up his ability, and hopefully he can come back next season and just start playing regularly. Other players as well, we've got Lauren Ulrich and Samuele de Benedetto, and I think there was one other player who I quite like the look of, but I might have left him in the dev center. But so what we're going to do is we're going to sim this season. I think we're only expected to sort of come 13th according to the media prediction. So we're going to sim through, see if we can have a decent season, see if we can maybe get into they want us to come mid-table. We've just played the first game of the cup, basically been trying to sort out the staff situation, just taking a couple of weeks. So we won that 6-0 quite comfortably. So hopefully we can push on in the Bundesliga, see if we can even sneak, top half, and see if we can have a good cup run, basically. I'll see you at the end of season 1. Well, everyone, the first season is ended here at Stuttgart, and believe it or not, we actually managed to come 5th. And if it hadn't been for the fact that we were winless in our last 5 games, we might have even been able to get into the Champions League. But as it is, we've got Europa League football guaranteed for next season. We were obviously unfortunate enough to come up against Dortmund in the second round, who dumped us out. I haven't actually seen what happened in that game. We lost 3-2 away from home. What can you say? Dortmund, obviously a very good team. I think that they came second this season. fourth. Sorry, yeah, fourth. They did just pip us. But yeah, it was the last few results here that killed us. Only getting a draw against Hoffenheim, losing the rest. But we beat Dortmund there 4-1, Frankfurt 2-0, Leipzig 3-1, Heidenheim 3-0. We'd expect to win that, to be fair. Playing of other good wins, beating Bayern Munich 1-0 at home, brilliant result. Key performers, basically, I've already had a quick little peek. So Lauren Ulrich only didn't make many appearances. He actually got our best rating, but he only played 57 minutes. And then it's Silas, Solette, and Undav, followed by Zhang and Llewellyn. Now, Undav actually had a option to buy of like 5 mil or something like that in his as part of his loan deal. So we've hit that. Llewellyn also had a good season. He had a release clause again of 4 mil. I'm not decided for certain if I want to activate that or not yet. No, you're wrong, he had a good season, but I feel like there are better options out there. Guarassi didn't play much. And then, we're looking at Mittelstadt, sorry. He is wanted. We've got quite a few players wanted, to be fair. Wu Zhong and Soleil and Silas are all wanted. We might struggle to keep hold of some of them. Same with Stella. Oh yeah, we've also activated the bid for Sturgeon for 5.5 million. Had a good season. Atakan is wanted. I may well sell him. He obviously was very much a bit part player. Only 467 minutes. Hiroki Ito not happy either with his game time, so we'll probably look to sell him on. Massimo, his contract runs out. He's gonna go. Gil Diaz obviously also didn't play. We'll let him go as well. And then we'll look to. We did have some of these players up for loan, and obviously no one came in for them. Transfer wise, we got given a really decent budget. Managing to lose quite a lot of sort of non-entity players, really, who aren't good enough for us. So to get European football in our first season, it is better than I expected. So we're going to look to see what we can do now to sort of create a squad that can compete in the Europa League and in the Bundesliga. So it's going to be very, very shrewd signing to try and sort of improve the squad. Obviously, we've already activated those clauses for the players who have performed really well for us this season. In Undav, Sturgeon, and we've just put in a bid for someone that our scouts found. Why am I going all around the houses? Brajan Gruder from Mainz looks a very versatile attacking player. 5.25 mil release clause. Fits the club vision of signing young players as well. So we're going to sort of really push on with that and see what we can find. Well, everyone, I think our transfer window is pretty much done. We're in the 3rd of July, so we just rolled over officially into the new season. And we've done a lot of sort of speculating to kind of accumulate, really. As you'll notice, quite a few free signings. The most we spent was 10.5 on a Florian Balogun from Monaco. Just a player, obviously, player probably well known to a lot of you. Our scouts suggested him. So we thought he's a really good quality option to play through the middle as our striker. We did confirm the signing of Dennis Undav. We did manage to get that done. Obviously, he had a good season for his last season. We'll be hoping he can build on that, potentially alongside Balogun. We've still got Guarassi as well. We did sign Sturgeon. The Ruder, I think his name was, the guy we tried to sign from Mainz, ended up signing a new contract at Mainz, so he stayed. We've signed basically a few free players. So Dino Peric, 29 years old, free signing, looks a really good aerial presence, and he's quite good on the ball. So he's just come in defensively. We've got a he's happy to come in as a squad player. Obviously we've got Europa League this season, so I wanted to really just try and get some bodies in just to provide a bit of depth. I mean, a lot of them are so cheap. It seemed to make a lot of sense. Same with this guy, Abdul Kadir Amur, has come in from, I think it's Trabzonspor. Free signing, happy playing across the mainly the right side of midfield, but can do a job on the left side and obviously through the middle. We currently don't use a number 10. I do wonder if we might eventually evolve into using a number 10 once we sort of filter out the players that we want and the players we don't want. These guys, Abramov and Petrovic, were basically players that came through our youth intake. Thankfully, we managed to catch the tail end of the youth intake when players were getting released. Because that's the problem. When you do these sims, if you don't come in like March, April, you often miss the youth intake. So we basically just signed them. as part of that. Our scouts also came back with Bakayoko, obviously, a very, very good winger. Again, really cheap. Managed to get him in really, really cheap. Comfortable playing on both wings. So we brought him in because someone we expect will A, get better, but B, we have the potential to sell him on for a profit. We could really do it just trying to get a little bit of cash in the door just to free up some funds and help just make things a little bit more comfortable, transfer-wise. So, a player we were expecting good things out of. Sean Longstaff, you will scoff. But again, scouts recommended him as someone who can play in that ball-winning midfield role. I basically signed him mainly for his mentals, to be honest with you. And he's got good tackling ability. So, again, someone who's come in and he will basically just play in that ball-winning midfielder role. Yeah, scouts came back with him and I was like, yeah, he looks okay. We'll bring him in and he's quite cheap. Jonathan Bamba, gone for a little bit more experience. The board typically want us to sign younger players, but Jonathan Bamba being available on a free, a player of his quality, just made a lot of sense. Paying a little bit more on his wages than I ideally like to, but his value, as you can see, already 16 to 17 million. So there's a chance that we might end up selling him in a couple of seasons for a decent bit of profit. But I think he can potentially have a really good impact for us this season with us playing in Europe as well. Afonso Sousa, again, another player our scouts found, comfortable playing off the wing, comfortable playing in the middle. Just a good versatile player, and for 3.1 million, and now his value's 14.5 to 17.5 million. Again, made sense. Balogun we've touched on, and then we needed a new keeper with Nubel going back, and Simon's not ready yet, basically. So our scouts came back with Nicholas Hedl, a player that I'm sure you've all heard of from out in Austria at Rapid Wien. So he's going to come in and he's going to be on board and keeper for now. Players out: Genki Haraguchi left on a free. Gil Diaz, Hiroki Ito wasn't happy about his lack of game time. He's a decent player, but obviously he just wasn't getting the game time over other players, so made sense to get a decent bit of money on him. Nicholas Narty, again, not really playing at all. We've got a couple of other players still potentially going out the door. But yeah, as you can see, we loaned out Simon, and that was the other player I forgot to mention, by the way. Jovan Milicevic was the striker that I couldn't remember from the development centre. So he'll probably go back out on loan. We've got a couple of other players going out on loan still. So yeah, after we've done all those signings, the squad, our best 11 at the moment is this one. So Undav, Guarassi, Stiller, Soleil, Silas and Bamba on the wings, Mittelstedt, Zagadou, Sturgeon and Stenzel. So not much else has changed. It's literally just Bamba coming in for Wu Yongjong. And yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, we're going to sim another season now. So I'll see you all at the end of season 2. Well, everyone, season 2 has ended here at Stuttgart. And as you can see, we finished 6th this time. So 1 place lower. And I think probably on a lower points haul as well. 6 was enough to get us into a Europa League place, but as you can see over here, we came runners-up in the Pokal to Augsburg, who take that Europa League place off us. Our Europa League campaign was pretty tragic. We came 4th. We only won 1 game, drew about 3, lost 2. It was a really tight group. It was literally like we ended up dropping from 2nd to 4th, I think, on the last day, because we got battered away at Galatasaray. But yeah, so that means we are into the Conference League next season, which potentially is a realistic proposition for silverware. We did do a few little tweaks in the January. We changed the tactic. Basically, we noticed, I'll just show you. We noticed that basically towards the end of the year, sort of November, December time, as you can see, some inconsistent results, just a couple of wins here and there, but a lot of draws and a few losses. We adjusted the tactic based on the assistant manager's recommendations at this stage. So we'd seen that we'd just thrown away another sort of win really against Augsburg. We'd had a few very late sort of conceding of goals, I guess, for want of a better word. Thrown wins away, come from behind a few times, or teams have come from behind to beat us. It felt like we were really struggling to hold on to leads, as you can see, here, conceding late on against AZ. Things like that, really disappointing, basically. So we tweaked, like here again, went 1-0 up. So we changed the tactic. We went in, checked with the assistant. Basically, the 4-2-4 gegenpress was no longer a recommended system for us by the assistant manager based on the players that we had. And one that was recommended was a 4-3-3 vertical tiki-taka, which we switched to at, I think it was after this Augsburg game. As you can see, we then drew against Leverkusen again. So 93rd minute equaliser, 94th minute equaliser. And then we went on a win, as you can see, of 5 straight wins, including a 2-1 win in the Cup. We then followed that up with some pretty rotten results in the league, including this one against Wolfsburg, where we took the lead twice and then ended up going behind to an 87th minute Lucas and Mecca goal. And then again, sort of kind of picked up a little bit. Managed to beat Leipzig 4-3 in the Cup semi-final. And as you can see, we lost 1-0 in the final to Augsburg. But yeah, like we certainly seem to do overall better here in the tail end of the season with that new formation. So we are running with that, and we've kind of employed our transfer strategy around that. We've already got a few signings lined up and coming in. One player you will notice that we did sign is Malik Thiaw. We actually signed him in the January. He's unhappy because he's not been being played as a ball-playing defender. But he's been okay. We signed him relatively cheap, 5.75 mil from Milan. Can't remember who else we signed in the January. I feel like we brought someone else in. Oh yeah, Luka Sucic came in because we were playing a more 4-3-3 system. We wanted someone as a Mezzala. Rather annoyingly, we made this tactic change after we just loaned out one of the cheap signings we made last summer, who would have been perfect in this role. But he's done well on loan. He's going to come back, and hopefully he will slot into there as well. But yeah, let's get the new signings in and see how we're going to line up next season. Okay, everyone. So in terms of the players that we have brought in, we've gone for Arsene Zakarian. Scouts found him and also highlighted the fact that his release clause was like 7.75 million at Sociedad, and you can see he's instantly valued at 53 to 59 mil. We've basically gone for a lot of midfield strength and depth primarily. Alberto Morelero has come in to give us some more options out on the left flank. Jonathan Bamba ended up mainly playing off that left-hand side last season, but he is sort of getting to 29-30. He might end up leaving, and I feel like Molero is probably an ideal replacement for there. Obviously, we've still got Wu Jung, and we've also got Silas as well. Max Merstedt came in. Our scouts found him at Hoffenheim. He had quite a low release clause, and he is coming in to basically be a depth option, like our sort of new young striker, to sit in behind Balogun and Undav. We've let Guarassi go, as you can see, to Osasuna. Eduardo Bove has come in from Roma to be some more midfield depth, someone who can potentially play in that holding midfield role, but can also quite possibly look to play in that box-to-box role as well. Again, quite cheap, come in quite comfortably within our budget. Burak Ince only had a 1.6 mil release clause, and for that amount of money, he seemed too good to turn down. Someone who I'm sure, we can flip it into a profit in the future, but he's certainly got really good technicals that I think can carry him through to boost his value. And then our main signings really here coming at the end. So we felt like we really needed some fullback improvements. So we brought in Nathan, from out from Brazil. I think he was at Santos, was it? For 6 million in total. And then we brought in Emanuele Valeri from Torino. So Valeri is someone we actually used on our Sassuolo rebuild, and he was really good. Our scouts just found him again. We tried to sign Sergio Gomez from Man City because he was transfer listed, but he ended up going to, I want to say, like a PSV or a Feyenoord or someone like that. A couple of players left for free, Castanara, and Valdemar Anton. We didn't really need Anton anymore in that depth option at defence. I felt like we had enough quality there. And then another young player who was, not a young player, a B-team player who, we had no need for. And then Guarassi and Stenzel also left. It was signing Nathan and then having Wagnerman, who can play there as well. It just didn't really make much sense to keep Stenzel around when his contract was running out. He was quite happy to leave. He was talking about exploring his options, so it made sense to let him go. Now, tactics-wise, we've got the vertical tiki-taka, which ended up using, and it looks like it's primarily going to be using this system and these players potentially. Some of these players here will still probably leave. Dino Peric is looking like he's going to go. He was a player we signed for free. He's going to go out on loan to Vitesse with an option to buy, mandatory purchase option after he's played so many games. And then Abdulkadir Omar, I think he could be useful, but it's whether he wants to stick around and try and fight for that. He was another one I think we signed on a free. And then we've got Lauren Ulrich, who I will potentially still consider loaning out just to sort of help his development. He went out on loan at Heidenheim last season, who weirdly enough won the cup but got relegated in the first season, but then winning the cup against Bayern Munich ensured that Tuchel got relegated. But yeah, we'll probably look to loan Ulrich out again. And then, yeah, we'll see how we go. So I will see you at the start of, well, at the end of season 2. Hopefully we have a bit more success. See if we can get a cup win. Obviously, we got to the cup final last time. Let's see if we can get another win and a win this time. So season 3 has ended, everyone, and we've got our first bit of silverware. We've also qualified for the Champions League. We got knocked out by Augsburg. Again, second year in a row we've lost to them, this time at the semi-finals in the DFB Pokal. But Champions League came third. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We did actually end up reverting back to the Gegenpress. Essentially, we hired a new assistant manager, and he suggested a Gegenpress tactic, and I thought, I don't know. But then it was like a 4-2-3-1, because I was kind of thinking about wanting to get Zakarian into this number 10 role. And safe to say, it reaped the rewards of them getting 20 goals. He actually got, if we go to the squad screen, we can see it better. He got 20 goals and 10 assists. The real unsung hero, though, was Max Merstedt, the player that we signed to basically be a young prospect to bring through as like a third choice striker, not someone I expected to really hit the ground running. Getting 50 goals in all competitions. 50 goals. We had Silas getting 20, Bakayoko getting 10 and then 25 assists. Bamba with 11 and 11 and 13. Nathan, whatever, getting 14 assists. Outrageous numbers from some of the lads. Balogun, not playing as much, obviously, but got 11 goals. Wagnerman weighing in with 12 assists. Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Milero off the bench with 10 goals, 2 assists. Yeah, predominantly used as a rotation option. Bove coming in with 3 assists. Burak Ince ended up getting loaned out in the January. He just didn't really kick a ball at all, which is a shame. I thought he might have done a little bit more than he did. But yeah, the board is giving us £42 million again to sort of strengthen for this Champions League campaign. In the Conference League, we beat Lyon 2-0. So yeah, we're going to be playing Champions League football next season, and let's see if we can build on that. And who knows, maybe throw a bit more of a title tilt at Bayern Munich, and try and finally get our hands on the DFB Pokal. So our plan for season 4, I think it is now, has basically been to try and boost our strength in midfield. And obviously Zakarian had a brilliant season last season. And we actually managed to sign Lazar Samardzic from Udinese for 15.5 mil. And as you can see, he's already valued 44 to 48 mil. Basically someone who can maybe take some of the workload off Zakarian, allow Zakarian to sort of maybe play a few different positions if needed. Samardzic can obviously play a couple of different positions, just boosts our creativity really. Still, he's 24. He's probably, looking at his match screen, he's already sort of peaked now. His current ability and his potential ability are kind of in line. But someone who with those really good technicals, I hope can be a really good option for us. And now, having taken care of the attacking side, hopefully bringing in Manu Kone will help take care of our defensive midfield going forward for the future. Again, 16.75 million from Gladbach, pretty cheap really, and his value is already really, really high. The issue we have here at Stuttgart is Manu Kone is on 98k a week. He's one of our top earners. We don't really have a massive wage budget to compete with the rest of the top teams in the Bundesliga. But hopefully, Manu Kone can come in and bolster up that midfield. He's certainly a lot better than what we have at the moment in that defensive role. When it comes to outgoings, Dino Peric did finally leave. He went to Bochum for 1.5 mil, which when you think we signed him for nothing is pretty good. This was a deal we didn't really want to have to do. It was one of our youth intake players. Hakan Yilmaz looked really, really good, but Bayern came in and basically stole him off us for 1 million. This was something that kind of happened while I was simming. So I didn't really have a huge amount of say over it, but I'm not sure whether it was like a compensation deal because it was a youth player. I'm not sure, but basically this deal got done without our approval, which it shouldn't have been. So because we reject all transfers unless they're transfer listed. So whether he requested to be put on the transfer list and it was accepted when Bayern bid, I don't know. But yeah, really annoying. But obviously, we're not going to get to a point in this save where he would have been a starting player for us, but it's still frustrating that did happen. Dennis Undav also finally left the club. He went to Frankfurt for 1.8 mil. Frankfurt are really struggling in the simulation, so he's someone who I imagine they're hoping is going to come in and do a bit of business for them. He's 30 years old now. We obviously signed him for 5.5 mil. He never really reached the heights that he did in that first season. Yeah, he had a good second season, to be fair, I think, but after that he sort of really tapered off and got shunted down behind Balogun and Merstedt. Finally, with Zakarian and now Samardzic joining, Luka Sucic, his game time had dropped last season anyway, and he wasn't very happy. He was wanting to leave, so we ended up just having to loan him out to Bologna for now. But his future at the club is certainly looking limited, especially seeing as that big match con has really developed into a proper negative for him. So this is looking like the best 11 at the moment. I imagine it will change. Important to note, Jonathan Bamba's contract expires in 12 months. I'm probably not going to renew it. He's going to be sort of 30, 31. He's come in and he's done a job for us. So if a move materialises for him where we can get a bit of money for him, but it's difficult. He's on quite high wages, so a lot of clubs aren't really coming in for him. So this might be his last season. We may end up just losing him for free, but considering we signed him for free, he's come in and he's really contributed for us. I don't think we can complain too much. But as you can see, Kone slotting straight into that ball-winning midfield role, Saleh being pushed out to the roaming playmaker role, which is interesting. Whether we'll see Zakarian or Samardzic take up that role more going forward, we'll just have to see. But yeah, let's sim and see how we get on. Before we do that, though, before we do sim season 4, everyone, just one final little bit of business. Dennis Simon's gone out on loan, so we have signed Marcel Lotka as a sort of a backup keeper in behind Hedl. So yeah, just to keep you posted on that one. So our first season here in the Champions League ended in disappointment. We got knocked out in the league phase. We only won like a couple of games. We battered Shakhtar 7-1 and beat like Banek Ostrava 4-2, but then we also had defeats like Club Brugge, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, but a couple of defeats which I wasn't really happy with. But hopefully we can really push on, because as you can see, we actually came second, level on points with Köln, but we actually came second, still quite a way off Bayern Munich. We might not overthrow Bayern Munich in the 5 years of this simulation. It's going to be really tough to do so. They are, an absolute financial monster when it comes to us. But the fact that, considering we've taken this team who, when we took over, just, if we go off, because this is the updated seasons and stuff, the updated squads and database, they had just survived the relegation playoff, and in 4 seasons we've got them into second in the Bundesliga. Disappointment in the cup again, 3rd round knockout by Freiburg. So hopefully go with our last season. Basically, my aims are see if we can cement ourselves another year in the Champions League, potentially push Bayern a little bit further. We have actually done well against Bayern as well. We have managed to get a couple of victories over them over the last few seasons as well. So it's not like we're not competitive with them. It's just over the course of a 34-game season we really struggle. And I think it'd be nice if we can progress through the Champions League a little bit more, and just even if we can just get out of the league phase. And obviously it'd be really nice to win the Pokal. So far we've only won the Conference League, and we've had 2 DFB Pokal semi-finals and a final, so it'd be nice if we can get that one done. In terms of standout performers, Merstedt once again leading the way with 30 goals. Not quite the 50 that he had last season, but equally he hasn't been a stat pattern in the Conference League this year. I think he got something like 25 goals in the Conference League last season or something. Zakarian just weighing in with the 23 goal contributions this season. Bakayoko, however, getting 27. Lauren Ulrich had a really good spell on loan at Heidenheim again. I think it was like his 2nd or 3rd year in a row. So he's someone who's probably just going to come in and be probably quite a useful player for us, even just off the bench, because Bamba is leaving. He's going to Nice, I think. He's going on a free, so he can come in and play there. But Zakarian, as you can see, was the main inside forward on the left-hand side, which with Samardzic playing through the middle, and Samardzic had a good first season for us. So it looks like it's probably going to be Zakarian on the left, Samardzic through the middle, and then Ulrich will basically be the backup for Zakarian, taking the place of Jonathan Bamba. Stiller, we've not really talked about him much, but he was here when we started and he had another good season. Manu Kone had a good debut season for us, a nice 7.02 match rating. Nathan did really well again. Zagadou, I feel like there's scope to improve in defence, and we will have a look at it. We've actually originally found a few, and kind of annoyingly, like new gen players who, given our limited resources, we're kind of having to just sort of look at bringing in new gens at the moment because we can actually get them cheaper. But we did do one other bit of business, which was signing Josip Stanisic. We did that in the January just for a bit of depth because we had a couple of players unhappy, like Malik Tiao, He ended up going out on loan and he might well leave. We also had Balogun actually loaned out from underneath us. Not something we actually intended on doing. That just happened. I'm not sure whether we put a transfer request in because of the lack of game time, and then he ended up getting loaned out in the January. When we jumped in January, that had already been done. But yeah, so far things are looking all right, to be fair, this season. Sorry, I mean, going into this season, because as you can see, this is currently our best 11. Stanisic is actually currently the number one choice for wing back on the right-hand side. That might well change. I feel like Nathan really should be playing there. He is by far the best. But Bakayoko's turned into a really solid option for us. Stiller made that roaming playmaker role. His and it's Solé and Zagadou in defence, with Valeri still holding that left wing back slot. Yeah, as I said, Jonathan Bamba is going to Nice. He's done a really good job. 10 goals in 87 appearances. He's got quite a few assists as well, like 9 assists this season in 22 starts, 18 sub appearances. So good, been a good servant for us. Getting his wages off the bill certainly helped, because the issue we're having is our wage bill is quite limited. So once we've tied down some of our star players to new contracts, often being quite expensive, they're massive. Like when we started, we could just about get players on 25k per week contracts, but now we've got people like Manu Kone on like 140k per week, just because we have to do it just to keep them happy for now, because we can't afford to lose them too soon. Like we need them to help us sort of cement and consolidate. So they're really important players that we need to maintain our level while we try and improve. Obviously, we're getting into season 5 now. We are, like I said, kind of getting into regen territory in the simulation anyway. But yeah, I'll show you some of the players that we brought in. So I think our transfers are done. There's possibly a couple more outgoings. Lillian Egloff is potentially leaving, as is Alberto Morello. We're just waiting on those deals to sort of get boxed off. But Alfonso Souza has left. We made a little bit of a profit from him. We didn't really see much of him at all, to be fair. He ended up not really fitting into the squad, according to our assistant manager. Obviously, they are the ones who take control of the games. We can specify, who plays and mix, certain players if we want them to play. But he wasn't someone we felt like we wanted to demand that he played week in, week out if the assistant didn't feel he was good enough. Malik Dior left. We made a profit on him as well. Same as Burak Int, we signed him for 1.7 mil. He's gone to Almeria for 2.9 mil. Again, we didn't really see him. He ended up going out on loan a lot. Jonathan Bamba we touched on, and a nice little profit on Eduardo Bove, who hadn't really played much at all. He featured a bit in the first season, mainly as like a rotation player. And then his playing time just tapered off, and he wasn't very happy. So we ended up managing to get a nice profit on him as well. I think we signed him for like 4.4 mil. So I'll start with the players that you will be able to find it in your saves, just if you're interested. Also, just so you all know, by the way, I am going to make this save. If you want this save, you can have it. If you join Jake Cooper's Discord down below, you can find me in there at just TJ90, and I can provide you a link to download it, or just send it straight to you so you have it. And if while you're down there clicking that subscribe link for the Discord, why not subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already, and drop a like down below as we go into this final season. So yeah, we signed Badruddin Bunani. Basically, he's coming in as a depth option on that right wing, just to provide a little bit of competition for Bakayoko, because we don't really have any out-and-out quality on that right wing for someone who can really, come in and potentially do as reasonable a job as a backup. You don't get me wrong, he's not the same level as Bakayoko, but he's at least someone who is probably good enough to just allow Bakayoko to have a little bit of a rest from time to time. And then Brajan Gruda is someone we tried to actually sign in our first season from Mainz, but he ended up staying there, and we've managed to bring him in just as an emergency backup, very versatile, can play across that midfield three and as a striker if needed as well. So yeah, he's coming in for 4.2 mil. And then we've got Bastian Termes. So this is one of the first new gens that we've bought. So apologies, you don't get me wrong, you might still be able to find him. Obviously the game does have like certain face in the game players. I don't know if he's one of them or not. But basically we looked for someone who can play the roaming playmaker role. We literally went onto our squad planner and said, look for someone who can play roaming playmaker. And he came up and he looked brilliant. So we brought him in. He's coming from Leipzig for quite a bit of money. Same as Hielke Ude Vesseling. Basically, we were looking for another defensive option. And again, like I said, we're in new gen territory now. So this is the point where, ordinarily in the game, in real life, if you were playing the game, if I was just playing the game naturally, these are exactly the sort of signings I would be making. It is bringing in Nugent. He's absolutely massive as well, 6.5 feet tall, with really good jumping reach and reasonable heading. He's someone who could really turn into an absolute beast at set pieces. We've not really touched set pieces much at all, I'll be honest with you, in this save. We've just kind of let the sort of presets just play out, as we go through. But he's someone who can definitely be a player going forward. If anybody wants to take this save over, I'm sure he'll be a good player for you. As you can see, he's really worth up to 64 mil. And then finally, another one was Keegan Koza. He came in from, I think it was Sporting Club de Portugal. Another wide option. Looked really, really good. We actually found him last season, but we couldn't sign him. And the opportunity came around this season to bring him in. He's got really good dribbling, really good flair. He's only 18, so he's definitely one for the future. So again, if you want the save, he'll be a brilliant player for you. And let's face it, we all love a good South African wonder kid. So going into the final season, we're actually predicted to come 14 to 1 for the title. So Hedel is in the team of the season in goal. But I will be looking for us really to make sure we get Champions League again, try and come second, see if we can just close that gap to Bayern Munich, get out of the Champions League phase, and let's be honest, try and win the cup. But we'll see. I'll see you on the other side, everyone. So season 5 has ended, and I think I'm going to do one more season because I feel like we have massive unfinished business. We got knocked out in the second round of the cup on penalties by Leverkusen. We came 4th in the league literally on the last day of the season. We were 5th, and then we leapfrogged Schalke. And we actually managed to progress through the Champions League. We got knocked out this time by Man United, though. So, some progress, but I definitely feel like we've got some unfinished business. Now, you will notice that, this is how the squad kind of was lining up. You'll notice that we've got Piero Hincapié, and that's because Umar Saleh was basically kicking up a massive fuss pretty much constantly now. So we managed to get 30 million for him from Bayern Munich, and Hincapié had a 30 mil release clause, so we just brought him in, and he instantly improves our defence compared to Saleh. You'll also notice that Ulrich is in the number 10, even though he's out on loan, and that's because Lazar Samardzic basically got sold from underneath us into January. City bid for him, and the club basically agreed a fee of like 80 million for him, and they just sold him. We didn't really have any say over that, annoyingly, but obviously it was a massive amount of money for the club, so you can kind of see why they did it. In terms of the top performers for this season, Ulrich actually had a really good loan spell. Once again, out at Heidenheim. Merstedt weighing in with 33 goal contributions, so a little bit down again this season. A couple of other players went out on loan. Locker ended up going out on loan. I think there's been a bit of like issues with the transfers responsibilities while we've been on holiday. So some players have gone out who I wouldn't have ordinarily let go out, like on loan and stuff like Locker and things like that. But anyway, it happened. Buonani had a really good, solid first season with us. So it'd be interesting to see if he can really build on that next season. Another solid season from Bakayoko. Zakarian a little bit down on what he's done recently. Valeri weighing in with another 9 assists. So some decent numbers. So as I said, I am going to do one more season because I just feel like we could do just that little bit more. And we've made some moves to bolster the defence even more. We brought in Filippo Mane from Juventus for 29 million. As you can see, he's already worth 70 to 77 mil. High wages for a player of his quality at this stage of the simulation, but I feel like it's needed. Werder Bremen, I think they got relegated, I can't remember. But anyway, Yassin Adli had a release clause of like 15 mil. So we brought him in, 16.25 mil. We brought him in just as some sort of depth as in the number 10, just to provide a little bit of, competition for Zakarian, just to try and keep things fresh there. And then apologies once again if you don't like this sort of side of rebuilds, but we brought in a new gen left winger. Again, just to provide some competition. He's coming for 16.25 mil from Fluminense, and already really good value, and I think he could be a really, really good player. This is the stage we're at, you're 5-6 seasons in, and we've not got the pull that we can use to bring in star players all the time, so we are going to have to look at these younger players. He's 20 years old. I think he could be a really, really good player for us. And then lastly, Arda Güler was listed for 3.5 mil at Real Madrid, so made absolute perfect business sense to bring him in, just because we all know what he can do, and I'm sure he'll be able to, if anything, just be flipped for a profit in a couple of seasons. So yeah, we're going to do our final sim for our 6th season, and let's see how we get on. Before I do click sim, this is just what the strongest team is looking like at the moment, by the way. There's Stanisic, Mane, Hincapi, Valeri with Hedelston and goal, Kone and Stiller, Bakayoko, Adley, Kuta, and Merstedt finishing off the rest of the 11. So let's see if this team can finally win us another trophy. And everyone, the answer is no. The answer is no. So I was following this, and for most of the season, we were third within about 4 to 7 points of Dortmund and Bayern Munich, and Dortmund were actually top of the table at one point. We came top of the Champions League group, and then we got knocked out in the semi-final by Bayern Munich 1-0, and we actually did the double in the league over Munich as well. I have had a quick look. Basically, we went on a horrendous run of form at the end of the season with a 4-2 aggregate loss to Chelsea, a 4-2 loss to Hamburg in there, losing to Union Berlin, losing to Bayern Munich in the semi-final, losing 4-0 to Augsburg. Yeah, really disappointing when you look at when we go back here. We started the season so well. We had Champions League wins against Real Madrid, Juventus, Michelin destroyed them, Arsenal, drew with Zagreb randomly, comfortably got past Marseille and Panathinaikos. And then something happened here after the loss to Dortmund, and it just completely took the wind out of our sails. Very, very disappointing. We did a couple of transfers in the January. I'll show you them. One of this was sort of compounded by the fact that I can't remember if Zakarian had a release clause of 53 mil or if it was another board selling him from under us, but Zakarian ended up going to Bayern Munich in the January. And I think he did all right for them, to be fair. Yeah, 7 goals. We signed him for 7.75 mil. So to get a really good profit on him like that, we can't really complain at too much. Johan Bakayoko basically wasn't playing at all, so he ended up going out on loan. As did Thomas Quinteros, a wonder kid who we signed as a striker option. He just wasn't getting the game time that we were sort of envisaging he would have done. And that was compounded by the record signing of Asa Neville from Arsenal in the January as well, an absolute beast of a striker by the looks of things. So we brought him in, and then we loaned out Quinteros, and he went to Zagreb. And how did he actually do? He didn't do anything. Did they play him? They played him up front, I think. Did they actually play him up front? That's just this season. Why did they even play him? He got 1 assist, so he can't have been playing up top. They must have played him out wide or something. But he definitely has a future at the club. Bakayoko, as for him, we'll just have to see. He had a good season, a good loan spell out at Hellas Verona. They do have the option to buy him for like 10 mil, so we'll see if they activate that. Because basically the squad last season ended up essentially looking like this. Buonani displaced Bakayoko, still Kone still in, and Adley, and then Neville came in as the main striker over Merstedt, which I think is probably fair. Merstedt isn't obviously as good attributes-wise. How did Asa Neville actually do? Not great, really, not great returns, but obviously, allow a bit of a betting-in period, and I'm sure he will push on. And then Merstedt still had a really, really good season, to be fair to him, weighing in with 39 goals in, 48 appearances and 7 assists. So really, really good numbers from him. Just a disappointment, really, is the actual how the season ended. Rodrigo Kuta, our little Brazilian wonder kid, had an absolute blinder season on that left-hand side. 16 assists, 23 goals. The squad is set up really, really, really nicely, let's be honest, for the future of this save. If anybody, like I said, wants to take it on and sort of carry on from this season 6 in June 2028 with the team we have, see if you can win the league, see if you can win the Champions League, win a cup apart from the Conference League, which is the only one we've won. Then by all means, drop into Jake Cooper's Discord and I can send you the file. That's not a problem. But yeah, some really good numbers from some of these players. And like I said, I think the squad is in a really good position. Finances-wise, healthy balance, good, strong transfer budget. We really managed to get the wage budget to improve as we've improved, which has allowed us to sign these better players. FFP, but all good. Good facilities, I think, as well. Just needs the junior coaching just bumping up a little bit. There's a real good youth system in place. We've got plenty of good young players coming through. Some of them we've actually might even be in our. We've got this guy, Declan Annis, and yeah, Joachim Malachner we've looked at, but we've got some of them who've actually been floating in and around the first team last couple of seasons. Sergei Abramov, Baumgartel is someone who I think could be a really good striker. He's been sort of floating in and around. He's not played at all this season, but I think he was linked with a loan move for a time as well. Uda Vesseling is someone again who could definitely be a good, decent centre half going forward. Bastian Thomas definitely could be a really good midfielder. Yeah, I think there's definitely the scope here to turn this team into a real force now. I feel like there's a good bedrock of talent here. So yeah, if you want this, let me know, and hope you've enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. I would have liked a better outcome. I would have liked more trophies, let's be honest. But you can't win it all. So yeah, take care everyone. I will see you all very, very soon. Bye for now.